Hello everyone, my name is Ankit Jain. I welcome you all to my channel Tech Journey with Ankit. In today's session, we will discuss how you can debug an Apex classes. Again, debugging is something that developers do very frequently whenever they are working on the Apex classes, either to figure it out the code written by the someone else is working as expected or not, or in case there are few troubles or errors in your code as well, that time also you can use this debugging option. So in this session, we will deep dive into the tools offered by the Salesforce so that we can debug an Apex classes. Before we get started, in case you folks like to connect with me, you can connect with me on the LinkedIn. You can also join our Telegram channel as well. Also connect with me on the YouTube too. I do request each one of you to please subscribe my YouTube channel as well so that you will get the regular notifications, whatever the new videos that I'll be publishing on my channel. First one here is we will try to understand what all the different options which are available in the Apex to perform the debugging. First one that many of you might be already using it in case you are on your developer journey, that is understanding the debug logs and try to print the statements by using the system.debug statements into the debug log. Definitely it is one of the most used approach, but sometimes is very challenging to go and limit ourselves by using the system.debug only because it will give you the kind of a static value. It will not give you a control to go and debug your Apex code line by line. And that is where another tool offered by the Salesforce, that is the Apex Replay Debugger, will be very helpful. Using this tool, what we can do here is, or basically what this tool do is, this tool use the debug logs to replicate a live debugging period. Using this tool, what we can do, we can have a control of our code by replaying the debug logs so that we can debug the Apex code line by line. Moreover, we can hover over the variables and check their values as well. With the help of this tool, we can add the multiple breakpoints and the checkpoints in our code as well. The good part here is this tool is absolutely free. You do not have to pay a single penny to use this tool. Another tool offered by the Salesforce is an Apex Interactive Debugger. This tool basically allows the customers to debug their Apex code on the sandboxes and scratch logs in the real time. The previous one in the Debugger, we are replaying the old debug logs, but here we are debugging the real time. However, this tool it's a paid tool, and moreover, it comes with the feature of independent software vendor partners working with the subscribers only. Okay, it works only for the ISVs who install a managed package, and as I said, it's a paid tool offered by the Salesforce. In our today's session, we'll be more focused on the Apex Replay Debugger, a free tool using which you can debug an Apex classes. So before we get started, you guys have this Java installed on your machine. Salesforce do recommend that you should use the Java 17 or the Java 11 version. However, the recommendation here is to go for the Java 17. Once you have installed the Java on your machine, I do request each one of you to quickly validate whether the Java is correctly installed or not. The easiest way to validate that here is coming back to your command prompt and put here Java-version. If you put this and press enter, it will show you the current version of Java which is installed on your machine. In case the Java is successfully installed, again, you can use any of the Java here. You can use the Oracle Java or you can use the Zulu Java as well. I will put this uh, Java link or JDK links in my video description. You folks can check it out from there as well. Another option uh, or another step that you have to follow so that the Apex Replay debugger can work effectively, it is in your VS Code. Again, this is the path that you have to follow if you are using the Windows or the Mac OS. On my machine, currently I am on the Windows, so let me show you how you can do that. So what you have to do here is on your VS Code, you have to configure the Java path that you have installed. Again, to do that, what you have to do on your VS Code, you have to navigate to the settings, open the setting dialog box from here and look for the Now, once you type the Apex there, here you will see the Salesforce DX-VS Code-Apex option. And this is where you have to go and specify your JDK path. How to specify the JDK path? They have already given an example. On my machine, currently I am using the JDK21. So this is how I am specifying the JDK path. Again, here you don't have to specify the path till bin. Make sure that you're only specifying the JDK path as they have shown up here as well. So this is the prerequisite that you have to do on your machine if you want to do the Apex Replay debugger tool. Next, before we actually see the demo, I want to cover the few theoretical concepts related to the breakpoints and the checkpoint. So what is breakpoint? Breakpoint is something basically which will instruct your running program to pause at a specific line number so that you can go and inspect the variable values at that time. So for example, if you are debugging and you want control should be stopped at the specific line, you can take the help of the breakpoint. The good part about the breakpoint here is while debugging also you can add the breakpoints as well. And there is no control from the Salesforce. You can add as many breakpoints as you want. Another thing that we do have here is the checkpoint. Again, checkpoint is something which will overcome one of the limitations of the breakpoint. At the break, if you are using the breakpoint only, you cannot see the values which are available in the collection variables. For example, in your collection variable, you do have hundreds of records. And if you hover over that variable, it will not show you that value. So to do that, what you have to do here is you should be using the checkpoint. So what is checkpoint? It's a special feature for debugging an Apex code so that what the checkpoint will do, it will capture the more heap dumps. However, this checkpoint you have to keep in mind, you cannot add the checkpoints on the fly. So if you have to add the checkpoint, basically you have to update the Salesforce that you have added the checkpoint as well by hitting the command update the Salesforce org. In the demo, I will show you how you can update the checkpoints into the Salesforce as well. Another key limitation related to the checkpoint that you should be aware of is on your Apex code, you can maximum have 5 checkpoints at a time. So you cannot add more than 5 checkpoints. Another key difference, or it's just a summary, I like to say that compared to the breakpoints, checkpoint is something which is providing the more richer information for all the local variables, static variables, as well as the trigger context variables as well. Okay, so again, checkpoint is something which will definitely provide the richer information, but you have to also keep in mind that at a time you can only put 5 checkpoints. So you have to use the checkpoints very wisely whenever you are doing the debugging. Now, these are typical steps that will be involved whenever you are debugging an Apex class. The first step that you have to do here is you have to add the breakpoints or the checkpoints, whatever you want to do. In case you are adding the checkpoint, you have to update the checkpoints into the org as well by hitting the command sfds update checkpoints in org. Next thing, you have to go and turn on the Apex Replay Debugger. Once you turn in on, then the Replay Debugger will be on for the next 30 minutes. Second one, next point here is you have to go and reproduce the issue. You are doing this because you have to generate the logs for your issue. Once the log is generated, you can fetch that log by using the command sfdx get apex debug log. After you have opened the log in your VS Code, then you can launch the Apex Replay Debugger with the current file. So by following these steps, you can easily perform the debugging operation. Now let's move towards the demo part. Okay, so the first scenario that we will discuss in the demo here is, let me try to read it out. I am working on debugging a trigger that is written by some another developer. In this scenario, the business is expecting that whenever a new account is created, a task should be automatically generated as a part of their process. However, this is not happening, and this is where, as a developer, you have to pitch in and try to help the business why the task is not getting created whenever a new account is getting created. Let's say you have done your initial analysis and you have figured out that on the account object there is a trigger written, and in that trigger, basically, the account on the account creation, the task creation logic is there. So you have to go and troubleshoot it out now why this logic is not working as expected. So what we will try to do, we will try to exactly follow the same steps that we have put it down here. First, we will go and add the breakpoint or the checkpoint. Okay, in this scenario, let's see whether we need the breakpoint or the checkpoints or not. So this is the trigger. On the trigger, if I navigate here, because we know that whenever we have to perform the operations on the related record, we always do that in the after insert. So here I am switching it to the after insert. Let me navigate that. And here, let's say I want to put my breakpoint. So here you can go and add the breakpoint. How to add the breakpoint? Whatever the line where you want the control should be stopped, navigate to the left hand side, and here you have to go and put on the click. As I said, you can add as many breakpoints as you want. It's completely up to you. Again, one more breakpoint that I want to add here as well. So there are two breakpoints that we have added down the fly. We can add as many breakpoints as we want. Okay. Now let's go ahead, move to the next step. What we have to do in the next step, we have to turn on the Apex debug log for the replay debugger. So again, to do that, take the Control Shift P and type down here replay debugger. So here you have to take this option, turn on Apex debug log for the replay debugger. So I am taking the third option from the top. Here you can see that SFDX turn on Apex debug log for the replay debugger. Command is running and the debugger will be on for the next 30 minutes. So in the 30 minutes, whatever the logs that you are capturing, you can replay those debug logs now. So we have to wait for a minute for it to get started. Meanwhile, let's go and try to figure it out what is the third step. In the third step, what we have to do here is we have to go and reproduce the issue that we want to debug. So what is the issue that we have to debug? That when the account is created, the new task should be created. Let's go and try to debug that issue now or to generate that issue. Again, to do that, I am navigating here to the accounts and I'm trying to create the new account here. Let's say I'm giving the account name. For example, here is the test account. Okay, and clicking on save. A very simple account that we have created. That is the by putting only one mandatory field. The expectation here is under the activity, one task should be created. That's what the business is expecting, but task is not getting created, and that's what we have to go and troubleshoot now. Now, what is the next step that we have to do? And if I go back here, the next step that we have to do here is we have to get the Apex debug log. So let's go ahead and get that Apex debug log now. So to do that, again, I am here hitting the Control Shift P and taking the option of get Apex debug log. So there are multiple log files which are generated. Let's try to understand each log file. So for the first log file, it is for the flow. So we are not interested in this one because this is related to the flow. We are only interested in the trigger one. So I'm opening the another one here. This one is for duplicate detection. So we are not interested in this one as well. Closing this, opening the next one. The third one, again, the third one is something which is based on the trigger, right? Account trigger. This is my trigger name and it is based on this file. So this file is something which is the help of which I can perform my debug operation. So this one is something which is helpful to me. Coming back to the next one. The next one, what we have to do, we have to be on that log file. So currently you can see we are on this log file only. If you want, go ahead and double click on that log file. And now on that log file, what you have to do, you have to hit the command launch Apex replay debugger with the current file. So you can do the right click and also you can take this option from here, launch Apex replay debugger with the current file. So here I am also doing the same. I am launching the debugger with the help of current file now. Here you can see that now I am into my debug perspective and my control is here. Here you can see I do have my four buttons with the help of which I can perform this debugging operation effectively. Now, next thing what I want here is for my debugging, I want the control should be coming here automatically, right? Because this is where I have put my breakpoint. So I am clicking on the play button here. And here you can see that now control is coming up here. Now, here you can see that the control is coming up here. Now, the good part about this here is as we do have only limited set of record, if I hover over it, I can see the value. But down the line, we will see another example where in case my collection have lots of variables and if I'm hovering over it, I will not be able to see that value as well. So that part is good. If you can see, you can hover over any of the variable and you can check the values of that variable from here as well. For example, here, if I'm hovering over the new list, you can see that I do have the values available in that variable. The good part here is I can go here and hover over this record as well and check the value of that variable. right? Now to move the control to the next line, here you can see there's an option here called the step over. You can also hit the F10 button as well, and you will be moving your control to the next line. So now my control is here. I can go and check the value of the annual revenue as well. Currently, if I check my account object, there is no mention of the annual revenue. So what I understood here is when the business do maintain the annual revenue with the value greater than 5 million, then and then only the system is creating the task here. Then and then only the system is creating the task here. So I can go back to my business and highlight that your task will only be created only when the annual revenue is greater than 5 million. Like this, you can do the line to line debug. If you want to switch directly here, for example, currently you are inside this, right? But if you want your control should directly come up here, again hit the play button and your control will be here. Check the size of the task list. Here you can see that my task list is empty. That means no operation will be performed and my task will not be created, right? So the action item for me from the first demo here is why it is not working. It is not working because the annual revenue is not greater than 5 million. So I can go and report that to the business. Now coming to the another demo now. Now the another demo says that after fixing the trigger issue, I noticed that the test classes are also failing during the run. My next task is to identify the cause of the failure now. So now this time that the first one issue is solved. Now another issue here is the test classes are also failing, and now here you have to go and figure it out why there's a failure in the test class. And if you do have the test class written, whatever the manual steps that we have done here, you don't have to do all those manual steps here. I will show you how easy it is if you do have the test classes already written. And for that, I am again rolling it back to the previous one. I am switching it off the debugger manually as well. So let me go and turn off the Apex Replay debugger too. And after that, we will see in case we do have the test classes written, how easy it is for us to perform the debugging operation now. So I am switching it back to the test class. This is the test class, for example, which is failing, and now we have to go and debug this test class. So for example, uh, let's say this is the test method which is failing, and we are trying to debug this test method only. If I have to show you quickly how this test method is failing, I'm clicking on the run test just to give you a demo that this test method is failing, and we have to figure it out now why this test method is failing. So in this test method, we are making the query on the account. Sorry, yeah, we are getting the account records, updating the annual revenue, and after that, we are expecting that the SLA value should be coming up as the platinum. However, here, if I hover over this, here you can see that the outcome of this is failed. And now this is what I have to go and troubleshoot why this is failing. So very simple steps to do that. Here you can see that on your test class itself, there is option of debug test. So what you can do, this is the test that you have to debug before update operation. For example, in my scenario, so I will come here, navigate to my before update method, and I'm putting my breakpoint here. Okay, and I'm putting my breakpoint here. Now let me go and debug this test class by simply clicking on the one button, that is the debug test. Now here you can see we are on our debugging window, and what I can do here is, or ideally what should I have done here is, yeah. Now here you can see I am in my debugging window now, and my control is at the first breakpoint that I have added. But now as I have added this check breakpoint here, and if I go over and hover over this variable new list, here you can see that in my list there are hundreds of items, but I cannot see that value. Okay, so I cannot go and do my effectively debugging here. So what I should be doing here is rather than I go and add the breakpoint here, I should be adding the checkpoint so that I can see the values of all this new list variable. And that's it. And this is where you folks have to decide where to use the breakpoint and where to use the checkpoint now. So to do that, what I will do here is I am removing this breakpoint for the time being from here. And let me go and stop this because as I said, you cannot add the checkpoints on the fly. So I am stopping my debugging as well. And the next thing that we will do here is we will add the checkpoint here. Now how to add the checkpoint. Adding the checkpoint involve a typical steps. What you have to do here is, for example, add this line. If I have to add the checkpoint, I have to put my cursor on the same line. So I'm putting my cursor here on line number 14. This is where I have to go and add the checkpoint. After taking that, taking the option of Control Shift P here, and here you have to go and toggle the checkpoint. Here you have to go and take the command sfdx toggle checkpoint. Now you have toggled the checkpoint here. Here you can see, here you have toggled the checkpoint. So this is the first step. Second step, what you have to do here is you have to update the Salesforce with that checkpoint. Now there are two ways to do it. You can go with either of the way. Let me show you both. You can either take the option of Control Shift P and hit the command update checkpoints in org. This is the one way of doing it. Another way of doing it here is on your left hand side. Here you can see you do have the checkpoint panel. By clicking on this update button also you can do the same stuff. So here I'm clicking on this button and my checkpoints will be updated inside the org, and my checkpoints here will be updated inside the. Okay, so now my checkpoint is updated inside the org. Let me again go and start the debugging one more time. So again navigating to my test class and taking the option of debug test as well. Now the debugging is started, and here you can see I do have my control coming up here. Now let me go and hit the play button, and now you will see the difference between the breakpoints as well as the checkpoints as well. Now here if I go and hover over this, here you can see that I can see the values of all these different accounts which are available in my collection. Right here you can see the values which are available in your collection. So this is how very wisely you will be deciding whether to go for the breakpoint or to go for the checkpoint as well. Now let's go and try to understand why the test class was failing. So again, if I take here the next button to go next, I'll be taking the F10 button, moving it further one after the other. Okay, one thing that I observed here is in my test class I was updating the annual revenue as 3 million. However, my code is expecting that annual revenue should be coming up as greater than 5 million. Then and then only the SLA value should be updated as platinum. So this is the issue that needs to be fixed, where I have to make sure that in my test class I'll be putting the annual revenue value greater than 5 million, so that only I can compare the value with the platinum. So I understood the bug and I can go ahead and fix it as well. But I hope you guys also understood how you can debug an Apex classes one after the other. Once your debugging is done, you can always go ahead and stop your debugging from here, and also make sure that you are removing the checkpoints as well. Okay, so how to remove the checkpoint? Again, put your cursor here, again toggle your checkpoint from here to remove it, and after that you have to again update the org that you have removed the checkpoint. So again, take this option, update the checkpoints in the org. Again, you can do it from here as well. It's one and the same thing. But make sure that you are always updating the org with your checkpoint status. I hope you folks found this session helpful and got few learning from this video as well. That's all I do have, folks, for the today's session. Do let me know your thoughts in the comment part as well. Thank you. Have a good time.